Welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, and today I'm sitting down with a lady that I know the community really knows and has grown to love and is doing a remarkable job here in our community. And as we're celebrating Black History Month, I wanted to showcase people that are doing just that, movers and shakers in our community. And so many times we look back to those of days of gone by, which we still have to celebrate and recognize those, but we want to talk to modern day heroes and sheroes. And I have just such a person, Miss Zsa Zsa Heard. Zsa Zsa, welcome to the show today.
Well, thank you, Alton. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's always a pleasure to sit down with you, and
Yes.
you bring such a beautiful array to our studio. So thank you for being here and being my guest this morning. And Zsa Zsa, I know that everybody in the city of LaGrange knows you, but just if you don't mind, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Well, of course, I'm Zsa Zsa Heard, and I'm born and raised in Troup County here. So I'm from LaGrange. I moved away, came back, went to Tuskegee University, something I'm very proud of, to have attended a HBCU. So I have 2 daughters, a husband, a granddaughter who's on her way, and I just love my community. And one thing that I don't know if people know, I didn't realize how much difference it is to live in the county and to live in the city. That's something that I've learned throughout having this job, is that, wow, I lived in a different place. The city was a totally different place. And now that I'm working in the city and still live in the county, there is such a vast difference in those locations and areas. So I'm here, I love doing what I do. I really enjoy it, and it's something different every day. And it's a challenge, but it is a beautiful challenge.
Yes, it is.
To do it.
And speaking of beautiful challenge, the beauty that has blessed our quarter, Whitesville Road, is just phenomenal. Talk about that, Zsa Zsa, because you know, in all things we have movers and shakers in housing, politics, sports, all of those. You're moving and shaking in the housing industry. Talk about that project for us, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to talk about is when I took this job, one thing that concerned me was the people that lived in the area, in the housing authority, in that area. And I thought was, how are we gonna build and make it beautiful, but we're not making the people in the inside beautiful? Because we can put up a beautiful park that you see, the beautiful buildings, but if we don't take care of the people that are suffering in the inside, it'll just be a facade again that we're putting over something, masking something, like a Band-Aid fix. So we wanted to clean up the whole area and not just the housing authority area, where that whole corridor becomes beautiful. So when we did those projects, we had the people in mind, what type of buildings they should look like, and what they should give back to the people. So cleaning up that entire corridor became a project of ours that we said we had to do. And we had to make a vast improvement. It couldn't be little, because I think since we've been there for 66 years, we've seen those buildings there. You've seen them. I rode down the street seeing them all that time. But now that project had to be bigger than anything that they had undertaken, because we were asking the people to grow. So we want them to grow as we continue to grow the area. So if we grow a beautiful park, you see the linear park, and the apartments, we wanted them to stand out, to be seen, to give them some of the luxuries that other apartment complexes have. The only thing that we couldn't get in this one was a pool. And the only reason is the insurance and how expensive it is and things like that. But it was important to us to make sure that those apartments had marble countertop, the flooring that's in there, the Jack and Jill bathrooms that now siblings share, and they can go into their own rooms, but they have their own sink. Before, everybody shared one bathroom. They never had more than 2 bathrooms in 66 years. So that project became more than just putting up some beautiful apartments and everybody want, but it became that this becomes a home area. And it makes that whole corridor look good. The entire corridor. So that's something we've invested in, that entire corridor, to make it look beautiful, to change the trajectory of the entire community.
And you know, you said so many wonderful things there. And people growing is so important. And I know with your background in psychology, that's important. Because if you can change, I always say, if you can change these 6 inches right here, then that person can grow and go to different and higher heights. So, and when you talk about the people, we also want to talk about our young people, bringing up that next generation. How important in your mind is what you're doing there empowering and changing the self-esteem of those young people that live there along the housing.
And that's important. And when we say empower, we mean introducing them to things that they've never been introduced to. Our children at the Housing Authority, and when I say children, they're all of our children,
right,
because they go to our school systems, they go to our churches, they are in certain programs, but they've already been to the National Museum in DC.
Wow.
Something that some of them may not have had the opportunity to do. So we think if we introduce them to things that they've never been introduced to, this just heightens their awareness. This heightens them that they're going to go to that next level in life. But we got to get them to thinking, I can go to these places. I deserve to go to them, and I do want to learn more. Like this month in Black History for us, we're featuring not just the people that have been in Black History, but we found a child every week, and we've made them Black History. Because these children are going to be your Black History and my Black History in our future. But we're already speaking that into them to empower them. So when they're faced with the bullying, when they're faced with the things that if I don't have certain types of things, they understand that it is the person inside of them that they need to be, that makes them great, and not things that make them great. And of course, the biggest thing is where they live.
Where they live.
It's where they live. And we know how that is. If you didn't live in the nice place, people made fun of you.
That's right.
Now that's become more prevalent, that people really watch where you live, how you live. So we want to make it look beautiful, so their friends want to come over.
That's right.
So that their parents want to bring their children to our area, and not that, oh, that's not a good area. Yes, it is a good area. We just got to make it look good.
That's right.
They're good people. We've got to clean it up, and that's all that we want to do, is clean it up, empower, and make sure that we're touching the lives that need to be touched.
That's right. That's right. So many things, because talking about that, it kind of made me go back to when I was growing up, and I'm a product of substandard housing. I say, everybody are frozen in the wintertime and you burn up in the summertime because you didn't have the necessary heating elements. And I just remember being embarrassed, as you talked about, when my friends would want to bring me home from after school. I would actually get them to drop me off the street over from where I live, because I was too embarrassed for them to see my home. Right. So, that impacts you tremendously.
Exactly.
And it makes you, afraid to basically to have your kids come over, or your friends come over.
Exactly.
So, what you all are doing there, and I know that you all have taken on another umbrella there, the Boys and Girls Club, too.
Yes, yes.
And such an awesome job that you all are doing with that. And I don't want to start naming names, but Sabrina Allen.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that and how that is going for us, if you don't mind.
And she's the executive director and doing a fabulous, fabulous job. And Alton, that was so important to us when we were contacted to, hey, can you help us with the Boys and Girls Club? It was almost a natural instinct. Yes, we'll do it. And we were at the table immediately to say, how can we do this? What do we need to do? And we just stepped right in. And it was such a natural fit that it just flowed. You were showing us the building, telling us, hey, Zsa Zsa, you got to do this, you got to do this. And it worked out that building is going to be repurposed for something else now. And we have a brand new building that the children actually come to. And we've been seeing so much support from the community, Alton, from the parents. The parents are so involved. They support us throughout every event that the children need to attend. They was just on last Monday, they went to an event where they went to watch a movie, skate, and do those things for the Boys and Girls Club. But we also are putting in those self-esteem things, teaching them about bullying, teaching them how to love themselves first. So, and the Boys and Girls Club is open to the whole community, not just the children of the Housing Authority. The building just happens to sit there.
That's right.
So one other thing that nobody's haven't seen yet, but we're gonna have what we call a Versa court on the Housing Authority property.
Okay.
That means that court, you can play tennis, volleyball, basketball, wrestle on the same court, and the court changes floors.
Wow.
And it'll look like a stadium.
Okay.
So we had goals that were so old, probably as old as long as we've been around, that the kids, it just wasn't feasible. Now, we can change the flooring of this mat, and they can play all those different sports on the mat. So we wanted to give them things that other areas or other places are already doing for those kids that cannot participate because their parents can afford it, we have the activity right there with all the equipment that they'll actually be able to do that.
Wow.
And one big partner was a school system. When we called and said we got the Boys and Girls Club, we needed to change the route from Cannon Street to there, they did it the next day.
Awesome.
The buses brought them, dropped them off the next day. There was not a stop in the process for the children.
Very good. You know, it's so important that you talk exposure. If kids are exposed to various things, it takes their minds to the possibilities of things that they can do. And when they see the parents' involvement, I'm glad to hear that you say that the parents are so involved and they're supporting them. Because I think that is so many times that is so vitally important. I can remember playing sports, and you know, we all do it. When we look up there in the stadium, we want to see a face that we recognize.
Yes.
And when we don't see that face, you know, our esteem kind of dwindles a little bit.
Yes.
But then we get back in the game.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And I think that's so important. And you guys are doing a remarkable job. Let me just ask, what's next for Zsa Zsa and the city of LaGrange? Because you are history. You are history here in our community. And I think it takes those persons that live here in our community to come back and have the love that you have for our community. So what's next for Zsa Zsa in our community?
What's next is, and one thing I want to say, when you said substandard housing, I think people sometimes look at me and think that I'm just walked up out of this place that was so wonderful. I lived in a trailer. Me and my brother and sister, we lived in a trailer.
Right.
We didn't live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. We lived in a trailer. And the one thing that I've learned to get to what's next is the things that I think that I was in my pathway had to be in my pathway to get me to where I'm going. So I learned not to try to go back and do the wish I shoulda, coulda, woulda type life, and I used to, but now that I know, I was a teen mom. People don't believe that when I say that. But we were talking, I'm like, all those women though continued to just push me. Right. Push me. They didn't let up on me just because I became that teen mom. So what I want to be next is that we're making such an impact that you won't even be able to recognize people that are living in poverty. Wow. You won't even be able to recognize that Whitesville Road is in poverty. Right. Because our next is, we hope to acquire the plaza maybe and put something like a Dunkin' Donuts. That's just an example. I know we have one, but really put something there because we have all that traffic and bring some economic development there. Yes. That's what we want to bring. And really give the people jobs, Alton, that are payable jobs that can really pay them so that they move out of the public housing, they purchase homes, they become homeowners. But we got to get them in a job that has a good living wage. So we do that through our leadership academy that we're cranking back up to put the adults in and get them trained, and not just get a job to pay bills, but get a job that is a career that you enjoy doing. Because we know when we enjoy doing it, it doesn't feel like work. That's right. That's what we want to do next, and making sure, whatever it is, we continue to provide affordable housing. Absolutely. We know that there's just such we just don't have enough of it. That's and we just got to continue to put more out there, and that means partnering with other people, other housing organizations. I mean, if everybody's doing two, and I do two, and somebody do it too, we're just giving more housing back and really build a real big partnership around what is in the community, so that we're not pulling at each other for all the funds that are always available, but making good partnerships. That's right. That's something that's on our table. We got to make good, solid partnerships and find organizations that are doing it well so that we don't duplicate those services. So if y'all are doing it well, say the Alphas, we utilize you all for a program maybe for the kids. So that means that you all get to do it, and we can do something else and work on it. That's right. And the next thing is our transportation. We're writing the grant for USDA, and of course we came to the city to help partner with us, but we hope to bring some electric vehicles that we can operate within the city and extend this transportation even further out into the community, so that people not only can get to work, they are getting to a good job, they're buying a home, and then they can get a car that they can actually afford. So we're going to be putting together some of those programs there, and we're on our second and third phases of we'll start demolishing some on Whitesville Road, then we'll go back to Barton Street, and it'll continue to demolish.
Well, very good. Zsa Zsa, I'm just telling you, exciting things are happening, and you at the helm, I know it's just only going to continue. And you talked about so many transportation, you know, and self-esteem awareness and raising it. And I just want to salute you as our Black History Month person of the month too, because you're doing a wonderful thing, and anything that I can do to ever support you and your staff at moving in those directions, you know that I'm always here as a support.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Well, I just want to thank you for being my guest on the show today, and definitely we want to start continuing to showcase you and the things that are happening in our community, because it's impacting lives, which is so vitally important in this day and age.
Yes.
So thank you once again, Zsa Zsa.
Thank you, Alton. I always enjoy being here.
Thank you so much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week coming up in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Shannon Gavin Johnson, the Director of Legacy Museum on Main, and this is a brief moment in LaGrange's history. When driving down Country Club Road, you may notice a small side street near the tornado siren and just past the roundabout that cuts away into the trees. That road is known as Red Line Alley. Red Line Alley is near the site of the estate of Giles Wilkerson, a free person of color who lived in LaGrange prior to the Civil War. The street was originally called West End Street, but was often referred to as Red Line Neighborhood. Some of the early residents of the neighborhood worked on the nearby Hills and Dales estate. They even had their own church, which still holds weekly services. Welcome Baptist Church can trace its origins to 1915 when it began inside a Broad Street store. It later moved to the Goose Holler neighborhood before its final move to Red Line Alley. Reverend James Ware, the pastor of Welcome Baptist Church, has served as pastor of the church for almost 50 years. Reverend Ware has also served 2 terms as a city councilman. LaGrange's Red Line Alley was also the last unpaved street inside the city limits. The name Red Line Alley is thought to have originated from a proposed railroad line that would have cut through the north side of LaGrange and right through this area. The route was marked with a heavy red line and was never constructed due to an alternate route being chosen instead. Today, Red Line Alley is a quiet tree-lined path isolated from the flow of traffic on nearby US Highway 29. To learn more about this neighborhood and others in LaGrange's history, visit Legacy Museum on Main. This has been a brief moment in LaGrange's history.